Los Angeles Rams next up, 10-7 last year. They started 1-5 and then made an absolute run, finishing the final 8 in the NFL. Their over/under is 9.5. They've done such a good job of winning a Super Bowl. Good job.
Yeah.
Stripping down the roster, building it right back up again with some Utes. Even losing Aaron Donald last year, saw that defensive line really take off. The biggest story right now, though, is Matthew Stafford. And I meant to ask Will and our producers and our social friends here, when we were doing our reasons for pessimism, I almost certainly brought up Matthew Stafford and his injuries, right? I would have brought that up.
We did. Well,
his back injuries, and you just never – he just feels really fragile in his late 30s. And he's had a back injury throughout camp right now, and that's going to have a big effect on this season.
We specifically brought it up for the Rams, and we said, look, you could say this for any team, right, that an injury is the reason for pessimism. But specifically for the Rams and for Matthew Stafford, it's a fair point to bring up because he's old. He's put himself through an absolute beating throughout his entire career, and he's had a reasonably lengthy list of recent injuries, right? So it's a bigger thing for them than it is for other teams who, sure, an injury to their quarterback would derail them, but there's no reason to expect one necessarily. With Stafford, there is and was, and this one is sounding not great. I mean, number one, it's a back injury, and that's always sketchy to begin with. Number two, they're reports I think I saw from Rap Sheet was the tweet. He's had like an epidural to be dealing with. I mean, this is not. It's a disc problem. Like, these are all buzzwords that make you terrified for anybody, let alone a starting quarterback.
Interesting career overall for Stafford as well. These last few years with the Rams in 2021, probably his best season. They go win the Super Bowl. He looks incredible. I thought in 2023, that was the year they were super young, developed a Puka Nacua, right? Found him and surprised some people. I thought Stafford played great. And helped that young team along and made the playoffs. And then last year, he wasn't great. He certainly wasn't great down the stretch, and they were winning a ton of games, and a lot of it was driven by the defense. And so heading into this year, if he was healthy, with Davante Adams coming in, I'm thinking, okay, I don't think Stafford's cooked. I don't look for these like, oh, he's 37, he's falling. I don't look for the cliff that the general media looks for. As soon as a player doesn't play well, oh, he must be done forever in perpetuity. I thought Stafford, healthy, would have been primed for a good season here with the entire offensive line coming back, with Davante Adams and Puka Nacua as a 1-2 punch. I thought he would have been in great shape. So whether it is him or Jimmy Garoppolo as the backup, by the way, Garoppolo is one of the best backups in the NFL. That guy can go out and win some games for you, has done it for a while, even though you might not want to have him as your starter right now.
It's also only ever 4 games away from the same injury that Matthew Stafford's
same injury. I do wonder if
Stetson Bennett is QB3.
If you didn't have Garoppolo, I do wonder if Kirk Cousins would be an option here. I don't know that Cousins at this point is a big enough upgrade. I think it's an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo, but big enough to actually make that move. But I think the Rams, my point is, Puka Nacua is a star. Davante Adams was a star and is still very good. And I think Adams in a number 2 role can be outstanding. They have a chance to do some damage offensively here.
Yeah. I also think, I don't expect Matthew Stafford to fall off a cliff physically in terms of, oh, look, his arm's gone and he looks like last year Peyton Manning. But I wonder if his cliff looks more like Brett Favre's, where this is a guy who's been Iron Man through his career, right? Who's been like his thing has been.
Great point, Sam. Great point.
Battling through ridiculous injuries and playing. Like, even if this thing, the back injury doesn't get any better, I expect him to play. Like, I expect him to go out there, maybe shot up with Toradol or whatever and just give it a go, right? And play well. But I do wonder if his aging starts to manifest the way Favre's did, where once you start hitting that age, your body just doesn't bounce back anymore. And it takes longer and stuff breaks when it used to bend and that kind of thing. Like, does Stafford just get broken for the first time, really? And that's what not takes him down, but that's what kind of starts the decline.
Run game wise, Kyren Williams has made just a really big impact for them. They just re-signed him to a nice deal. Interesting from a team building perspective, Les Snead continues to draft running backs over the last couple of years. I think they continue to just look for these guys that they love the same way they loved Kyren Williams. Blake Corum 2 years ago, Jarquez Hunter last year.
And they're all the same running back. Like, there's a very specific type.
Yeah. We'll see if they end up, sharing the workload or whatever, but Williams has been fantastic in the pass game as a runner. And again, offensive line-wise, I said everybody's back. It's really Coleman Shelton returns to the Rams. But they have 5 starters returning, basically. 4 were all here last year. Solid group up front. So offensively, I think they look good if Stafford's healthy. I don't know what to expect from him, though, at this point.
Right. You need to get on the phone to Les and get him to make sure that Willie Lampkin is the starting center in all through preseason. Give him the reps. Get him out there.
Text him today,
let him win the job as the starting center going into the season.
I'm going to say, how's my guy? I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
I'll find out this week how he's doing. If I get a bad report, though, I will not.
Not interested in bad reports.
I will not
Only
report back.
Positive things is what I want to hear.
Hey, guys, real quick. Only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action. Defensively, man, the Rams, what a stretch they had second half of last year. The reshaping of this defensive line, it started in 2023. Aaron Donald was still there, but it was all just a youth movement all around him. He retires heading into 24, but it doesn't matter because they drafted Jared Verse in the first round, and he looks like an absolute star next to Kobie Turner, who looks like a star, next to Braden Fisk, who's got a ton of potential here. I love that they brought in Puka Nacua, who's another one of always going to be on my roster guys. Underrated,
add it to the list.
Stumpy run stop type who just always plays good solid football. I love this defensive line. I love the way they got after quarterbacks down the stretch, and just revamping this D line over the last couple of years. One of the stories I think of the entire NFL because it's made the Rams not deal with this massive rebuild.
Yeah.
It's got them right back as one of the better teams in the NFC.
I mean, the power on hitting in the draft in a spectacular way is really still potent. It's unreliable, but if you do manage to do it successfully, you can change everything. And then this year, you draft Josiah Stewart as well, kind of undersized pass rusher from Michigan. That could be a real difference to this defense as well. It could be incredible. I mean, the big question is just, can they pick up where they left off, where they were destroying people throughout the playoffs? Wrecked Minnesota, ended Sam Darnold effectively as a starting quarterback there. Can they pick that up and keep doing that heading into this year?
They also have one of those, like, versus power is so difficult to stop. Josiah Stewart, who they just drafted from Michigan, has great burst off the edge. Byron Young, really good athlete off the edge. They have different types that are difficult to block as well, stylistically. The one question I had, though, up front was, they weren't big and physical from a defensive tackle perspective. I love Kobie Turner. I love Braden Fisk. They're on the undersized end, and especially Fisk. Like, those guys can get moved at the point of attack. That's where I think Puka Nacua adds a ton of value there. So I like where they are there. Secondary-wise, I think they're okay. Darius Williams back again with the Rams, starting on the outside. Akilla Witherspoon's been up and down over the last couple of years. They tried to buy low on Emmanuel Forbes last year. He's had his struggles since being a first-round pick. And they have the Camerons at safety. I think they look okay. I think, again, another team that played better. Some of their parts were better as a unit last year. But if you had to pick some question marks, I'd say it's probably corner, but I think they have the potential to be solid there as well.
Yeah, secondary, back seven generally looks weaker than the defensive line, but we saw last year in the playoffs, the defensive line is good enough that it doesn't matter, right? Like, if that defensive line gets after the quarterback the way they were doing in that run, they can paper over. Like, you can have an awful lot of average play behind them, and it doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
So I hate to oversimplify this because Rams looked great down the stretch last year, but a tick below, right? I mean, they held with the Eagles in the snow game, but they felt a tick below the best teams in the NFC. But just as I've said with, say, the Bucs, who felt a tick below the best teams in the NFC, excuse me, I think the Rams made more positive additions than maybe the Eagles or the Lions this offseason. Doesn't mean they're going to be better, but if Stafford was healthy, it felt like, hey, they might be able to compete with those best teams and make the NFC Championship and beyond. So healthy Stafford, I think that is in the range of outcomes here. And by the way, we like the West, the NFC West quite a bit. We liked the AFC West. I think this NFC West has a lot of teams to be optimistic about as well. But it comes down to Stafford and this back injury, man.
Yeah, I mean, look,
over-under's 9.5 for the Rams.
They gave the Eagles the best game of anybody in that playoff run, right? They could have been the team to go to the Super Bowl instead. And if they'd gone there, I don't know if they would have lost to Kansas City the way that defensive line was playing. So this team was very close to a Super Bowl. The key pieces, guys like Matthew Stafford, like they've been to them. They've done it. They're not going to get phased like that. So the addition of Davante Adams, I think, could and should be huge. I think people are sleeping on him a little bit because of how the Jets thing went, how the Raiders stuff was going. I think Davante Adams can still absolutely cook, particularly when paired with a guy like Puka Nacua. I think this team is a legit contender if Matthew Stafford's back injury goes away or injuries are not a problem.
The other part about if Stafford's playing, his aggressiveness makes the ceiling high, I think, for this offense with Puka, with Davante Adams. Drafted Terrence Ferguson in the second round at tight end with some of those additions. His aggressiveness makes it so that I think that ceiling is high for the Rams. I think if he's healthy, I'm going over.
Same.
Am I hedging now because I'm concerned about the back? And might say
no. I mean, I think again we've said it at the time when we were reasons for concern or optimism. It is fair, I think, to look at this team and say because Stafford is, at his age, dealing with injuries, et cetera, it is an asterisk, right? Like it's one that doesn't exist for other quarterbacks who, they could get injured, but right now there's no reason to think they will.
So over under 9.5?
Over.
I will go under for the Rams. Over if Stafford plays. I'll just say over. We'll say he's healthy. Over for the Rams.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit this subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
The all-knowing algorithm is convinced that you'll like these videos as well, and frankly, who are we to argue?